To order the Town of Hilton Head Islands Planning Commission. I would start with the Pledge of Allegiance, as we always do. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Karen, may I ask, are we in compliance with the Freedom of Information Act on today's
Yes, sir,
meeting?
we are.
We are?
Yes, sir.
All right. Karen, I'd ask you to call the roll, please.
Certainly. Mr. D'Arienzo?
Here.
Mr. Siebold?
Here.
Mr. Hens?
Here.
Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. O'Neill?
Here.
And Mr. Scanlon?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to approval of the agenda for today's meeting. Does staff any changes to the agenda for today?
Yes, we do.
And what is that?
Request that the CIP agenda item move up.
Okay, so we would be under new business, under new business, we would be taking up the capital improvement program first.
Correct.
And then the discussion and action on the rules of procedure. Okay, fair enough. Is there a motion to accept today's agenda as changed there? All in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Okay, approval of minutes of our last meeting is January 18th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? So moved by Mr. Hens, second here by Mr. Siebold. All in favor of approving the minutes of our last meeting, please raise your hand. Unanimous vote there. Appearance by citizens. Do we have any appearances by citizens today?
Yes, sir, we do.
And who is the first person to speak?
Our first person up is Ms. Wazinski.
Wozniacki?
Wozniacki.
Wozniacki, okay.
You did good, thank you.
Okay. Please identify yourself and where you live. And
Sure. My name is Marilys Wozniacki. I am the board president of the Hilton Head Island Motor Coach Resort. So I want to thank you all for allowing me to address you about our concerns relating to the deep well project on Dunnigan's Road that's adjacent to our resort. Also, you should be receiving a copy of my more detailed notes.
We have it in front of us.
Okay, good. First, I'd like to give you an overview of who we are. Our resort has been here since 1978 and sits on 50 acres of land. It's rated a 5-star motor coach resort throughout the country and includes 401 privately owned lots with just under 800 owners. Being on this beautiful island, it's a destination that attracts people from all over the country. A number of our owners live here full-time, and many others are here for months at a time. For all of us, this is home, for sure. Not only do our owners and rental guests support the local businesses, but we also spend a tremendous amount to remain competitive with other high-end resorts. On average, the current value of each lot is about $250,000, and the average cost of a motor home is about $400,000. So as you can see, we have a huge investment in this lifestyle. And on top of that, the value of the resort's other hard assets, if you add that, the amount is staggering as far as the value of our resort. With regard to the project, I want to make it very clear, we do not begrudge anyone having safe drinking water, including, it helps us too, it helps everybody in the community. Where our concerns lie are that the project is being constructed so close to us, and we're concerned about the short and long-term negative effects also. Our main concerns include noise pollution, health hazards, and decrease in our property values. We were never notified of the project and only found out when we witnessed the land being cleared. The buffer along our property line is totally gone. We met with the SIPSD and other agencies and were assured certain steps would be taken, and we have also suggested steps that would mitigate the negative impact been undertaken. When I asked the general manager why the site was chosen, he said, and I quote, "I didn't know you were back here." Considering we've been here for 45 years, we find that pretty shocking. The 40-foot high, 300,000 gallon water holding tank was built only 30 feet from our property line, and it's now our direct view on that side of our resort. That's all we see. The holding tank was supposed to be painted a dark Charleston green so it would better blend into the environment. Even something as simple as that did not happen. Several of us visited the Cordelia Parkway plant and took note that it's very isolated. We got a good education, but it's very isolated, and the closest residents have no exposure to noise or other concerns like we have. In addition, it's a much smaller plant than this one is proposed to be, and it's very noisy, so we can only imagine the noise level we're going to endure. In closing, we are asking that the decision makers meet with us and seriously consider our concerns. We believe this project can be a benefit to the community at large without having dire consequences on the lives of the 800 of us who have made this resort and this island our home. Thank you for your time and attention to this very serious issue.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
The person or the people who told you that they didn't even know you were there, they're not town employees, are they? Those are public service district employees, right?
They're with the SIPSD. It was
Yeah.
Papu Tafeo that told us that.
Well, just a couple of comments. We appreciate your stepping forward today and making us at the commission here more aware of this. And we, as the Planning Commission, have no jurisdiction over the Public Service District. I hope you understand that. But we're more than happy to hear what the public is saying on this issue, and we will be in touch with them about it and any shortcomings with regard to what they were supposed to do on Phase 1. And certainly as we look at preparing Phase 2, whatever that might entail. But I thank you for stepping forward. We certainly appreciate it. And we will take this up with the PSD.
And we thank you for your feedback. We just want to work with you and any decision makers, so.
No, we're
Make
happy.
this a win-win situation.
We're happy you spoke up. That's the only way we hear about things sometimes, when people come and tell us.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there a second speaker on this issue?
Yes, Mr. Grindle?
Yes, Mr. Grindle?
Good afternoon. My name is Blaine Grindle, and I also live at 133 Arrow Road. I'm here today to ask for your concern and attention to the SIPDS project on Dunnigan's Alley. I have written comments that I submitted, and I ask you to read them carefully and understand our position. I believe we have some solid ground to be concerned. Since construction on this project began, we have met with town staff and officials of the PSD. While we completely understand and support the construction of this needed deep well, we'd like to work with all of you to make this project the least impactful on all the residents of our neighborhood and Wexford. Since the second phase of this project will need permitting and public meetings, we have asked to work with the PSD and the town to modify the design as it proceeds. Our focus at this point has been studying the sound characteristics of their equipment based on a visit to the smaller plant on Cardillo Parkway. They helped us by starting up the plant partially, and even under the partial equipment, they were out of bounds as far as the town codes go. We've made suggestions to the PSD regarding the location of noise-producing equipment in Phase 2. Their preliminary design showed that much of the noise-producing equipment was facing our neighborhood. With some hopefully minor relocations and some sound-deadening walls, we think the noise will be reduced to town code levels or below. We have a drawing showing the proposed locations. We hope that this board will support us and participate in the process to develop a design that improves the island and doesn't degrade our neighborhoods. The PSD has not responded to any of our suggestions at this point. Our study has shown that many of us will be exposed to a constant level of 60 to 70 decibels 24 hours a day. That exceeds the town limits in your own code. We are downstream from the mist from the cooling towers, which may contain biological matter such as Legionella disease. I've operated a lot of cooling towers, and a lot of them get Legionella just because that's what they do. We are too close to the towers according to standard design practices. I ask this commission to carefully review their next application, paying particular attention to the noise levels that will be generated, the excessive runoff that is flooding our properties, and you can see pictures of that in what I submitted, and the location of the cooling towers and the known health hazards associated with them. I ask you to scrutinize their next permit request very carefully. The long-term effects of their building construction, location, and soundproofing will all influence the quality of life for all of us. We are a Hilton Head Island neighborhood. I'd like to be treated like one.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. You say the PSD has not gotten back to you or not been responsive at all?
No, we met with the manager of the PSD, Papu, and I gave him a drawing of what we suggested that would reduce the noise levels to acceptable levels.
Right.
And he looked at it and said, well, we haven't started engineering, we'll think about it. And then in subsequent conversations with different people, it's all designed, we're not going to change anything. So we're getting a lot of tongue lashing from them, and frankly, we're tired of it, and that's why we're here.
I can understand it completely.
The town takes the responsibility to control this.
And you have been in touch with, you and your colleagues have been in touch with town staff with regard to this Phase 2 thing, correct?
The Phase 2, not as much, but what they did was a sneaky little thing. They combined the Phase 2 with the Phase 1. Even though we still have to have a permit and hearings on Phase 2, but the design was all done in Phase 1 and accepted by Missy as part of their notice to proceed.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's where we're fighting an uphill battle because they have some approvals. And we just don't think enough study was done up front to say, this isn't a good idea, and it's not fair to us.
All right. Another comment back here?
Yeah, I'd like just to fill you in a little bit.
Could you go step to the microphone, please?
I'm sorry. Earlis Wisniewski again. We did attend the town council meeting not too long ago and spoke. I also introduced myself to David Ames, who is our representative. We had him over to our resort to show him what we're talking about. We went to the SIPSD board meeting on the 24th of January and spoke. We've had inspectors out a couple times, the town inspector as early as yesterday, to assess the flooding we're experiencing from runoff. So we've had at least seven meetings. With the SIPSD in town,
Okay.
different people. So.
Thank you very kindly. I can promise you that we will be in touch with the Wexford District 1 PSD and let them know about your concerns and what was expressed here today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other signed up speakers for today? To staff, is there anyone else that's on the list?
Yes, Ms. Kangas.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Hello, my name's Jeannie Kangas. I own and live on Lot 285 in the Hilton Head Island Motor Coach Resort. I'm here to recap what you've heard from my neighbors Bud and Marilis today. This new water plant is already impacting our resort, property owners, and renters with the following concerns. The noise pollution, for example, when completed, each of the 6 proposed cooling towers will sound like locomotive engines running 24/7 with no noise relief. 2, health hazards. Legionella disease is inherently present in cooling towers, and uninterrupted long-term exposure to high sound levels has health risks. The decrease in our property values, for example, our natural preserve setting has been replaced with an unsightly industrial plant 30 feet from our property. We are here today because we have been told that Phase 2, which addresses the construction of the operating plant, has not yet been permitted. Presently, SIPSID's existing Phase 2 project schematic has no sight or sound mitigation incorporated. At this stage, there is time and opportunity to carefully evaluate the proposed layout and design. For example, we have been advised that cooling tower design and selection is critical to noise generation and/or that simply rearranging the cooling towers can direct noise away from our resort rather than directly into our resort as presently proposed. In addition, we have been advised that sight and sound barriers can easily be added. We've reached out to SIPSID and have received no indication that they have any intention of addressing our concerns. And because SIPSID has already, 1, disregarded their required buffer, and 2, have not taken steps to address water runoff, this project needs oversight. We ask that the town carefully review the permit application for Phase 2, which addresses the construction of the operating plant, and before approval of Phase 2, require that SIPSID incorporate sound and sight mitigation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for speaking up. We appreciate it very much. Are there any other speakers that are listed on our
No, sir, there are not.
pre-registration? Any other comments from the public on this issue? Okay, thank you. We'll move on. But we will be in touch with the PSD regarding your comments and make sure that they understand that this is in their court, this ball is in their court, and that with the town, I can assure you, the staff of the town will do what we can and should be doing. I can't believe the non-response on the part of the PSD. I really can't. All right, we'll move on to, let's see here, unfinished business. We don't have anything before us in that regard. Under new business, we're going to skip down to item B, Capital Improvement Program, fiscal year 2024 priority projects. And Jennifer Ray from staff will be making a presentation on this. And you have another meeting that you need to be at, Jennifer, so
Yes, sir. Thank you.
what time is your next commitment?
Oh, it's 1:30 to 3:30, so I ran over here to do this meeting. We've
All
got
right.
plenty of time.
Okay,
I'll just
good.
run back
All
as
right.
soon as we're finished here. I don't want to
enough.
shortchange this discussion because it's important for us to be here today.
Yes, I don't want the other meeting to miss you.
Thank you. Thank you for for being so accommodating. Jennifer Ray, Capital Program Manager for the record, and I'm here today because the CIP Committee of Planning Commission made a recommendation to the Planning Commission to consider these priority projects and make a recommendation to Town Council. So our CIP process goes through several different groups, and right now we are here at Planning Commission. We were at the Parks and Rec Commission in December and January. We were at Planning Commission CIP Committee last month, and then here today. And then your recommendations will be part of the packet that goes to Town Council for their budget consideration. So here's the recommendation. This was in your packet. There were some comments that the Planning Commission CIP Committee made, some recommendations, adding a pathway between Shelter Cove Town Center and Shelter Cove Marina, adding pickleball courts to Chaplin Community Park, pathway from Arrow Road to Wexford, improving signage at historic Mitchellville Freedom Park, Jonesville, Miller Road improvements and feasibility, and then specifying that Phase 1 of Mid-Island Park should include earthwork, trails, pathways, and parking. We have projects grouped into these 8 different categories, and in your packet, you had the detailed spreadsheet. What I propose to do, Mr. Chairman, and this is up to you and the fellow commissioners, on this spreadsheet, you'll see where staff made a ranking, and then Parks and Rec Commission, and then PCCIP Committee. And what we did this year is ranked things with 1s, 2s, and 3s. So 1s were the most important, something we should do now. Those might be things that we've already started that need to continue, ongoing maintenance type items, or like our have to do things. And then things that we could push out a little bit may have gotten a 2, that would be in the next 2 to 3 year period, and then farther. So what I would propose for the Planning Commission today is that I'm here to answer any questions, and we don't need to go project by project, but if you have anything that you disagree with or want to add to, I think that would be an efficient way
Right, I
to do
agree with
this.
you. Is there, we can go section by section, and I can
Okay.
ask the members of the commission if they have any questions or comments. I see an awful lot of number 1s on here, and we probably need to hone that back. We can't do everything all at once in the same year, right?
Correct.
So,
And that's something
it
that
would be
will-
helpful to you if we started maybe making 1As and 1Bs or something like that?
That would be great. Otherwise, staff will have to do that as we take it to town council, because as you alluded to, while
Well, staff is
the
overworked.
budget is not something that you all have control over, I know that when we put all of these ones
Right.
in there, we can't afford it, nor do we have the time and capacity to do all of that work. So-
Totally understood. All right, so let's start with the beach management. Members of the commission, if you have anything on the beach management list that you'd like to comment on or pre-prioritize as a 1B instead of a 1A, any members of the commission have a point on this first section? Mr. O'Neill?
Yes, I don't know if it's a point on this section, but I just want to, is my understanding that the order of this list has any importance? In other words, you know, since they are all number ones, let's just take an example under pathway maintenance and improvements. It's listed first on the list as a new fiscal year 24. So that's, in my mind anyway, understood to be after carryover 23s from a priority standpoint.
I will say that within each category, they are not in a priority order, because on this page, for instance, since you mentioned pathway, the top part is more general pathway type projects, and then the bottom, you can see it's new pathway segment, so they're
Right.
all grouped together. So they're not necessarily in priority order. Once you look at that new pathway segment, you will see that the carry forwards are first.
Right.
And I would, in that case, propose that what you're getting at is exactly right, that we would finish those carry forward projects before we moved on to some of those new projects.
So in general then, carry forwards are a 1 and new for 24 are a 2.
If that's the
Or 1A,
direction that
1B.
you all would like to recommend,
I like that a lot. You know, we've got to know
Yeah.
what's current so that we don't kill it.
All right, well, yeah.
Right.
All right, so under pathway management, and Mr. O'Neill, jump in any time if you want, but we have carry forward the Shelter Cove Lane, so that should be a 1A, right? The William Hilton Parkway, Shelter Cove Lane to Matthews Drive, Pollock Field, that is a carry forward, so that should be a 1A. And the Jonesville Road thing, which would be a 1A. Now, if we look up to new for 24, you have pathway maintenance and improvements. Those are just general expenditures maintaining, right? Those first two items
those
there.
are things that we do every year when
All
we
right.
find something's broken and we need to go out and fix it. So that I would call the have-to-do things. Those are spot improvements and safety items.
All right, well, with the permission of the commissioners, and if you have any objections, please speak up. How about, I propose that we make those first three that I just mentioned, Shelter Cove, the William Hilton Parkway, and Jonesville as 1As. Is there any other thing that should be on 1A that's on this list? And do you have any comments or criticisms of that?
I think we just only put ongoing projects as an A.
Right,
That alerts us that they're ongoing projects.
okay. All right, any other, is that okay with you on this particular park pathway management?
Could I ask,
Yes, Bruce.
could I ask a clarifying question? Under the Jonesville Road project, where it says pending the results of a feasibility assessment, could you tell me what that entails?
Yes, sir. We are currently working on a feasibility assessment where our consultant team and staff are looking at, is a pathway even going to be plausible in that area based on the number of encumbrances along the way? Can it be an off-road pathway like we normally do? Can it be wide? Does it need to be a bike lane before we just jump in and start designing it?
Yeah,
So
they're-
we're doing that right now. We anticipate having initial results of that this month, by the end of February. And then that'll help lead us to what do we survey and what do we engineer in the next phase.
Along that roadway, and as part of this getting on here, I have gone up and down that roadway a long time, and there's specimen trees and other things
Yes,
right
yes.
beside the road, so they're going to have to go around those, and that's part of the problem. is
Dozens of mailboxes,
Right,
fire
exactly.
hydrants, ditches, trees.
Which side of the road and all that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any objection, just doing those first three as 1As and everything else is a 1B on that? If you have any objections, please speak up.
No, I concur. No.
Okay.
But I do have a question about the Shelter Cove, Town Center to Shelter Cove Marina. Is that the project the CIP subcommittee talked about last meeting?
Yes, sir. That
the
was a
bridge?
recommendation from a
Yes.
citizen that we added that one.
All right.
There's a second page to this, too. We also talked about at your committee meeting, adding the items that Bike Walk Hilton Head had added before, or had recommended before we had that on a separate sheet of paper. So we've added those to this list as well. That's why there wasn't a staff ranking, because they brought it to us, and so we've
All right, so
incorporated it.
Under, from the bike commission or committee, what was their priorities for this 24? Were they, are they listed on here?
See, there's some ones, twos, and threes then, because they knew, for instance, the Gardner Road to, Gardner Drive to Gumtree, or Gumtree to Squire Pope, those could be part of the Gateway Corridor project. And so until we know what's happening with that, it wouldn't be prudent to build a pathway in that area. So those were considered threes, because it'll be important at some point, but it's premature at this time. So that was incorporated into your packet with the 1, 2, and 3 ranking.
Okay. All right, let's move on from pathway management to, let's see, what's next on our sheet?
Roadway management is
Roadway.
next.
Yeah, roadway management. Again, let's looking forward here. The carry forwards are quite a few here in this one. And then there's an item, other roads to be determined, but let's see, everything in here is pretty much a carry forward except the Palmetto Bay streetscape enhancements, which is new 24, and the under the other roads to be determined. I mean, do we know what we're talking about there?
That's in the dirt road paving section specifically, and I've listed some. It may include Christopher Drive, Aranda's Way, Darling Road, Manatee Way. Every year we do an assessment of the condition and the number of residences that will be impacted, and so it would be one of that section. Those are the next ones on the list. And depending on how conversations go with property owners in that area would determine which one moves up to be the next road.
All right, without prolonging this, are there anything under roadway projects or roadway management that I would just say everything that's a carry forward is a 1A? There's quite a few of them on here, but does anybody have ones that should not be a 1A? Any comments?
Just a question. Several of these are pending 100% right-of-way acquisitions. Is that routine, or do you expect any issues to be a problem with?
Well, that's always the case with the dirt road paving program. When that was modified a few years ago, the direction was that we weren't buying right-of-way. It has to be 100% donation. Then we will come in and pave the road and maintain it in perpetuity. Sometimes everyone comes in agreement and says we want our road built, and sometimes there's one that doesn't. Because right now, Mitchellville Lane, we're ready to go. We have someone that has not agreed yet to sign the petition donating that right-of-way. So that one is on hold indefinitely. And then we'll come back if we can't get everyone together, but most people want it. We'll come back the next year and just check in and say, hey, take your temperature. How's everybody feel now? 'Cause sometimes things change. Someone that didn't want it paved changes their mind. And so it doesn't mean they're off the list forever. We'll just move on to the next roads that are needed.
One question here. Under the J, the Palmetto Bay Roads streetscape enhancements, what does that entail? Do you know? Can you tell us?
Yes, that's coming out of the recommendations from the corridors plan that we are wrapping up right now, bringing to town council, hopefully in March and April. But we recognized a need on Palmetto Bay Road to have a pathway on both sides, because right now it's not on the Sea Pine side. So you can't, if you come out of Point Comfort, you have to cross the street, go down the other side, and then cross back again to go to Publix, for instance. And so looking at a pathway pathway on both sides of the road, and then some intersection improvements, landscaping, just general cleanup and attention in
Fair
there.
enough. Okay, that would be, in my opinion, and I would ask my colleagues to comment, but I would say that the item I and item J would be Bs, 1Bs then, okay? Any problems or comments, please speak up. All right, we're moving on.
I do have a question about
Sure.
the line item above, the one you just mentioned, the Palmetto Bay streetscape enhancements. There's one general streetscape enhancements, but it isn't really defined.
Right, that was for the section Pope Avenue, Palmetto Bay, Arrow Road. So that section of corridors is being studied together right now. We had a general section that was called streetscape enhancements. Right now, we're doing some median cleanup in the Pope Avenue area. So any funds that are left in that, we would carry forward and keep doing it. But the other was identified as a new project to study that corridor to the next level. Because the recommendations in the corridors plan are real high-level recommendations. It's more of a kit of parts, if you will, and then you have to decide, okay, we're going to look at an intersection. So we go to the section that says intersection should have this type of paving, this type of crosswalk, this type of signage, and apply it to the actual roadway itself. And so that's what we would be doing in that Palmetto Bay section.
Fair enough.
Question. Wasn't it
Yes, sir.
talks about adding more parking in Palmetto Bay area?
Parking in Palmetto Bay?
Yeah,
Just general,
yeah, general parking.
to serve what area? Do you?
Oh, what was it, shopping centers around there?
Oh,
Parking in the park area?
well, for the park, for Crossings Park area, we are talking about adding more parking. We had a workshop yesterday where we talked about some improvements and there would be a need for parking, but staff hasn't been asked to add parking to serve any of the commercial properties around there. I know connectivity to get to them is an issue, either getting pedestrians or vehicles through and connected to that. So that's definitely something we would be wanting to help with. There's also plans with some of the island-wide master planning and district planning to look at the Palmetto Bay Road as a district, that area, and that could be where parking would come up.
All right, any other comments? We'll move on to park management if there are no others. Quite a few carry forwards here, as you can see. But we do have some new ones. Again, I would suggest we put all the carry forwards into 1A category, but we have some new 24s. If anybody would like to see, to add that to a 1A category under the ones that are new.
If I may, the Island Recreation Association is listed as new, but that's something we do every year. Typically, they ask for help with capital projects. We give them amount of money. It's called new because they'll finish all their projects and then ask for a new pot of money. So they're making that request for FY24.
And where is that located here?
It says O, here at the,
Okay,
near the top.
right, all right. Any comments on these, gentlemen?
Am I ahead when I'm on you here? Mr. Chairman, am I ahead when I'm talking about you? I'm just thinking of our priority process again, where a new 24 is kind of automatically a B.
Yeah.
All right,
Unless
so-
you want to move it up.
Well, the question is staff okay with the facility enhancements being pushed out further?
Which one are you on?
I'm on you.
On you, to town hall facility enhancements?
Yes.
I think some of that is a have to do thing. We have some building issues here in terms of needing a new generator. We have some repair work that we need to do, some structural work. And so I think when this goes to town council and it has dollars associated with it, we will be recommending doing some of that in FY '24, but pushing some of it out to '25, '26, so that it is a more manageable amount of work.
Okay, so given that and our thought process here, you might call that a 1A.
I would call it a 1A, but that would be my
Yeah,
recommendation to
please
you.
make a note of that. All right. So are we finished with, I was back on,
Sorry if I got it.
Yeah, we kind of jumped over.
my vice chairman is always out front. I don't understand why I'm always in the background. Okay, I was under roadway management.
Okay.
All right. And let me just finalize roadway management. Any other projects on there that are, should be 1As or Bs that should be changed from what they are? No, I'm hearing nothing. We'll move on. Okay, now, we're at your area, Mr. Vice Chairman. We're at park management, right? Is that right?
Right, park management, there are a lot of carry forwards because
Yes, there are.
a lot of stuff's been in planning and it'll move toward engineering and permitting construction. There are a few new things. This is where I mentioned that the Island Rec Association, I would recommend that that be a 1A, and even though it's called new, if that pleases the commission.
All right, we have, under the park management thing, I see the one, everything, all the carry forward projects should be 1As, and also that includes the public art program, which is the last item under O, carry forward. Any of the new projects under FY24 that you all think should be a 1A priority? Anything there jump out at a commissioner? No, then those are all 1Bs. All right. Let's moving forward. So we're out of parks into facilities and equipment.
And if I can add a note with this too, there are a lot of new under facilities and equipment because a lot of that are things that we buy and install. So it might be cables from an IT standpoint that all we're doing is placing an order and plugging it in. So there's a lot more new on that list. It's stuff that we need to do, but it's an easy lift, if you will, for staff. So that's why there's so much that is new, because more of that gets finished year after year.
Okay.
And it just recurs.
All right. Okay, so do we have anything under facilities management and equipment that we need to reprioritize here? Because there's a lot of new stuff there. We'll take the 1As as being carry forwards, but any new projects that should be moved in the 1A category?
Just a question with regard to the Coastal Discovery Museum and the historic Mitchellville Park. Are those annual? Those are more or less annual
Yes, sir.
requests?
Just like the
Yes,
Island
okay.
Recreation Association.
Right, okay.
They fall, because we own that property, those facilities, that it falls under our capital
Right.
projects, but a lot of them, they are actively managing
All
the
right.
work.
Anything under facilities and equipment, members of the commission? If not, we will put the free carry forwards as A's and the new ones as B's, unless somebody has an objection and wants to add something. Hearing nothing, we'll move on. We're now up to, well, we're still going through it, aren't we?
Yeah.
The next section is fleet.
Fleet, yeah. Are we buying electric or gas fleet vehicles?
We do buy some electric vehicles, yes.
Okay. I don't favor either one in particular. I just thought that,
We're testing them out. We have 2 electric vehicles that we got this year that have been working great. The biggest problem for staff is that most of the vehicles that we use are pickup trucks, because usually we're putting stuff in it, and there aren't a lot of good electric pickup trucks yet. There are more and more coming out. So right now we are still more reliant on gasoline than electric.
the electric coal, yeah, all right. Let's see here. Under fleet, anything new there? The carry forwards would be A's. And the news, staff vehicle replacement, new vehicles.
Those are things that we do every year. We have a program where when a vehicle gets to a certain year or a certain number of mileage, then it gets replaced.
Okay, lastly is land acquisition. We have a carry forward, let's see here.
That's for soft costs associated
Surveys
with
and
land
so on.
acquisition, surveys and appraisals.
Those are all carried forward.
And then housing is the last category. Those are carry forwards as well.
Okay. All right, we're going to need a motion to adopt what we've just itemized as 1As and 1Bs. I would entertain such a motion. Mr. O'Neill moves, and I have a second from Mr. Seabold. All in favor, please raise your hand at the As and Bs that we've just put forward. All right, thank you very kindly. It's a unanimous vote for staff. Jennifer, is there, yes, sir.
I don't have any comments, but you should ask if anybody else has public.
I was planning on doing that. Thank you, Chester. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jennifer. Appreciate it. Are there comments by the public on the priority list we just went through? Frank, do you have one?
Well, first I'll start with an apology that we didn't have any rankings because this is new territory for us. We just had a board meeting and we went through the pathways, and I'd like to submit that there are two 1Bs that you ought to reconsider.
Okay.
One is the one on the first page of pathways, and that's that Wexford to Arrow Road pathway, that little short pathway that we've been pushing back for 5 years straight now. It'll be the 6th year. It's a safety issue coming out of Arrow Road, people coming from, Starbucks and all that area. They go to Arrow Road, they have to, in order to go west, they have to cross the street at Arrow, get on a pathway where there's a very small apron, have to cross that street, and then move forward. If they want to go back on the side, they have to cross the street again. Would like them to be able to take their, cross the street at Arrow and just go on the pathway straight all the way up to
All right.
Gardner.
For purposes of clarification, which item are you referring to here?
It's H, it's under H.
Okay, and what's it titled?
Arrow to Wexford.
Arrow Road to Wexford.
Arrow
Yeah, we
Road.
discussed that at the CIP
Yes.
meeting, okay?
So are you suggesting that should be a 1A?
Pardon me?
A 1A, elevated to a 1A rather than a 1B project?
I would like to recommend it be a 1A.
All right.
It's pretty well already designed, it's not
Yeah.
very expensive, and it's a safety issue. Always seems to get dropped off.
Okay. All right, and
The second one is a new one. Because of what's happening in Jonesville Road, the construction there, the new housing, kids on Spanish Wells. Think about if you're a kid going to school on a bike to get to Spanish Wells to school. The most dangerous intersection for a biker or walker is at Spanish Wells, Wild Horse Road, and 278. We've had people killed there. It's for experienced bikers like us, we hate to cross that. It is the most dangerous thing. Cars turning from Spanish Wells while the light is going, 5 lanes of traffic coming in, jockeying for position. It is terribly dangerous. And so the people who live on Spanish Wells, if they want to get on a bike and go anywhere, they can only go really up Spanish Wells, especially kids. They could not cross there. So would like to have a little pathway that goes from Spanish Wells to the entranceway to the Cross Island. It's a short pathway to the front of the Coastal Discovery Museum. Okay? And that gives them an opportunity then to go cross a crosswalk at Spanish Wells, kids coming to school, walking, and the people who live on Spanish Wells Road and all those different new communities to go to a park at Coastal Discovery Museum and Jarvis Creek Park, because they really can't get to them now unless they go with a car.
How far is your proposed link from 278?
It's about maybe a quarter of a mile, maybe.
Oh, so it's way back.
Yeah, it's going to be alongside 278, and likely it's going to be a boardwalk. Okay.
all right,
I will give you. You can pass it off if you like. This is a longer term view. Eventually, we've looked at coming up with a pathway that will go into Old Schoolhouse Park and eventually into what we think will be a Gullah heritage site that'll be by Crazy Crab. But that's a longer-term activity. This is for like right now with those people who are stuck in Spanish Wells and can't get out of there on bikes
All right.
and walking.
Is it itemized anywhere in here?
Yes, it's on the next page. Okay, I'm sorry.
Which page?
And it's the third one down.
Where, you say, we're at Jonesville Road,
It
you
says
mean?
Cross Island Parkway, Cultural Discovery Museum access to Spanish Wells Road.
So, yeah.
What letter are we under?
The one above it is replacing a sidewalk. Okay, that's right above it, a pathway. The top one there says William Hilton Parkway, eastbound Gardner Drive to Gumtree Road.
Under,
Okay,
We have already, Jennifer, we have already ranked Jonesville Road as a 1A. Is it possible to include this particular link into the Jonesville 1A under F, Jonesville Road?
Not really the same, but you could, it's this one right here is the one that Frank's talking about,
Yes.
Cross Island Parkway. You could, instead of calling it a 2, you could call it a 1A or a 1B.
I've talked to some of the people who live there, they can't get their kids to school, they can't go to parks. They're restricted, it's very dangerous.
All right.
And crossing a Gumtree is a lot safer.
I would entertain a motion from any member of the commission on this item, if there is one.
So you would be amending the motion that you already made?
Yeah, what I'm thinking we ought to do is put it under Jonesville Road, include this particular link under the 1A we already have for Jonesville Road. Follow me on that one?
Yes, I understand.
Okay, may I have a motion or a second on that? Is anybody? Well, I will move it then. I will move that we make that part of the Jonesville Road 1A item. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Bruce seconds it. All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Unanimous vote on that, Jennifer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. Let's see, are there any other comments from members of the public on this, on these appropriation itemizations?
Blaine Grindle again.
Yes, sir.
And I would just say that I come from up north where it's very difficult to ride a bicycle. And this island is amazing with the amount of pathways it has. But I would also say they're starting to get old and the roots are really tearing up some sections of them. So I'd ask you to please fund the repairs adequately because it's just great to
If you
ride.
want to thank somebody for all the bike paths, you thank the guy who just spoke there. Shake his hand on your way back.
Thank you.
All right, anything else on this items, on these items? May I have a motion to include everything we've done here? Have
Can
we
I just
done
make
that yet?
one comment, Chairman?
With the amendment? Yes,
One comment, one quick comment.
Sure.
To piggyback on Blaine's comment. If we were to elevate, we got a lot of 1As.
Yeah.
And if we were to even have a hierarchy to look at the priority 1As, I mean, the few things that make this island great are the bike paths and unique, and the beach renourishment. So if we can keep those in the upper echelon of the 1As, I would recommend so.
All right. Well, we have 1As in each of these categories, though.
Yeah.
Some are pathways, some are beach maintenance, and so on and so forth. And I believe those are already 1As because they're ongoing programs. All right, Jennifer, we're going to need to make that amendment an official vote. So all in favor of? Yeah, okay, we can call a roll on it. But to make that project, that link, as part of the Jonesville Road 1A project. All right, call the roll if you will, Karen.
Certainly. Mr. D'Arienzo?
Here?
You in favor or opposed?
In favor, yes.
Mr. Sebald?
Yes.
Mr. Hens?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
And Mr. Scanlon?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have next on the agenda, let me get to the particular item. So much paperwork here. All right, we're now going to have a discussion and possible action regarding the Planning Commission rules of procedure. At this time, I have, well, please, do you have, Missy, if you want to walk us through the reason for this discussion?
Sure, I'd be happy to, and we also have our General Counsel, Mac DeFord, on the call. But we are working on, as you're aware, an amendment to the rules of procedure to change our meeting calendar to twice a month. And while we were looking at that, we also were looking at streamlining some of our operations and looking at the necessity of the Planning Commission subcommittees. There's 5 subcommittees of the Planning Commission. So we're looking at eliminating those subcommittees, but still having the capability for the Planning Commission to set an ad hoc committee as needed. So it wouldn't eliminate the idea of committee structure, just wouldn't be a requirement per the rules. And then also, as we were reviewing our rules, the Planning Commission rules with Mr. DeFord, we also noticed some other areas, procedural areas that we would like to amend as well. And we also have an upcoming amendment to the LMO that's going to have a public hearing at the Planning Commission next month. And so we were looking at, since right now we have the draft rules already prepared, and we were working to assemble the rules committee, and we were looking to see if the Planning Commission would agree to suspend the rules to alleviate the need for those committees, so that we could proceed expeditiously with the rules amendment that would then be before you on March 15th.
You used the royal we. Who is included in the we in the determination that this would be progress? Would that include, say, the mayor or the town manager or members of town council?
The we is the staff we. We reviewed this as a team, as well as with our general counsel as well. I know that he's on the call. Mac, did you want to chime in here?
Hello, Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Mac DeFord, General Counsel for the town. One of the, I think, overall purposes for the amendment related to committees is we've done a review of other planning commissions within the state, and we found that it's not typical to see subcommittees of a planning commission. So in an effort to make process more streamlined and efficient, we've proposed, we'll be bringing proposed amendments to the rules of procedure to eliminate the subcommittees of the Planning Commission. And just as a point of information, there's no requirement under state law, under the Comprehensive Planning and Enablement Act, for any subcommittees. The state law does not contemplate the use of such subcommittees.
Matt, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you tell us how long has this planning commission had subcommittees? How far back does that go?
I cannot answer that.
Pardon?
I cannot answer that, sir. I've been with the town since August, so
okay.
I'm not aware.
All right, fair enough. All right, so I have before me a motion. Is this the appropriate time for the motion? All right, I'm going to make a move to a motion to suspend Section 5 of the Planning Commission Rules of Procedure related to committees until such time that the Planning Commission may consider for adoption amendments to the Planning Commission Rules of Procedure. Is there a second to that motion? Mr. Hens, who chairs the Rules Committee. Is there, we'll take a vote on this. Do we need a roll call on this one, or?
I'd like to.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Hens. Yes, by all means.
So we are proposing to eliminate, how many committees do we have? 5?
5.
5.
Pete, name them real quick.
Sure. We have the Comprehensive Plan, Land Management Ordinance, Capital Improvements Program, Rules of Procedure, and Nominating.
And what would be proposed is wrapping all of those 5 into the Planning Commission. So now all of the commissioners deal with all of those.
Yeah, committee of the whole.
Committee of the Whole, correct.
Twice a month. Go twice a month instead of once a month.
Yeah.
So,
correct.
any other discussion, comments? Mr. O'Neill?
Yeah, I'm always for streamlining things. I am wondering about the LMO committee, though, and I know how much work, subcommittee, how much work goes into what those folks do when they're together. So I just want to be conscious of the amount of time that a full planning commission is going to need to spend to do justice to some of the very difficult things that LMO comes up with. I think, capital and the rest of it makes a lot of sense to me, but I do have this question in my mind.
But all ends up here sooner or later, though,
Processed, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully with some process, but this is...
Sir, just to address that real quick, this is Mac DeFord. In the amendments that we will be bringing next month, it does stipulate that ad hoc committees may be formed with the consent of town council. So if there is large amendments or high volume amendments to be made to the LMO, a temporary committee may be formed for that purpose. So we would not want to take that away from being a possibility.
So a vote to suspend Section 5 says that we are agreeing that they're no longer required, but that they may be enacted as needed by the commission? Is that?
So, well, Mac, you may want to answer that, but I could give it a go if you want.
The suspension is just to suspend the need for things to go through subcommittee currently. And then next month, we'll be bringing the actual amendments to the rules of procedure.
Okay.
For your consideration, and then you can either adopt those rules or amend them or reject them as you see fit.
So basically, we're talking fewer committee meetings, but 2 full meetings that might drag on longer, especially if we have LMO amendments involved in the discussion. All right, is Mr. Hens?
Why can't we just not vote on this, but wait until your new proposed structure is proposed and then vote on that?
Yes.
Instead of this?
Is there some sense of urgency, Mac, on this?
Well, the only thing is that technically under the rules of procedure, there is a rules of procedure committee. So this would just negate that purpose. Again, there's no requirement under state law to have a subcommittee. So this would just be up to the planning commission to suspend that rule for the purpose of adopting or considering rules amendments for next month.
And I would say, too, that there also is a small LMO amendment that will have a public hearing on March 15th, and we would otherwise need to go to the LMO committee prior to, and suspension of committees would alleviate the need to go through LMO committee for that small amendment that's coming.
And would bring it before the full commission, right?
Before the full commission,
All
correct.
right, has everybody got a grip on what we're talking about here?
So I know Mr. Hens is convening a meeting next week of the Rules of Procedure meeting. What is going to be our focus at that meeting if we're...
When it's going to be canceled?
That would be canceled if you approve this motion.
I see, okay.
But we plan on sending out,
You can always get a vote on this commission for a canceled meeting.
yeah. We have the amendment prepared, and we can send that out as soon as we would need it.
All right, so I have a motion and I have a second to suspend Section 5 of the Planning Commission Rules of Procedure related to committees until such time that the full Planning Commission may consider for adoption amendments to the Planning Commission Rules of Procedure. Do we need a roll call on this one? We do?
Yes.
All right, please call the roll.
Mr. D'Arienzo?
Yes.
Mr. Sebald?
Yes?
Mr. Hens?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yeah.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
And Mr. Scanlon?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, what else do we have here today? Under commission business, we've just done it. I have nothing to add under chairman's report, and obviously committee reports, unless there's been a recent committee meeting. Do we have any recent reports that we need to go over? If not, staff reports, any staff reports today? No, sir. With that in mind, we have come to the end, and so I will adjourn the meeting of the Planning Commission 1 hour later. How about that? Thank you all for coming.